Why do we forget how smart our ancestors were so quickly? Could it be that they had a deeper, more profound understanding of the universe and our place in it back then? Through regression therapy, Dolores Cannon has often looked into the past and hinted at these kinds of possibilities. She told stories about civilizations that were not only culturally rich, but also spiritually and cosmically aware. As you and I sit here among the relics of a long-ago time, I invite you to think about the long untold stories of ancient civilizations. And now you have to understand that we are only at the beginning of how advanced these societies really were. This new information challenges how we think about the past and makes us think again about things we've previously thought were primitive. These are stories that modern archaeology hasn't really looked into. They're like lost pieces of history that tell us something isn't quite right. How did we get so far away from the deep knowledge our ancestors had? How did we lose touch with that sophisticated, divine side of ourselves that knew how to build such beautiful pyramids and temples, not just as buildings, but as signs of a deeper understanding? This idea was a big part of Dolores Cannon's work. Through her subjects' past life regressions, she showed a link to these ancient times that hinted at a more spiritual and enlightened past. When we look into this lost history, we don't just find old documents and artifacts, we also find ourselves again. This story goes much further than the usual one about how hunter-gatherers changed into modern men. It talks about a time when people had a deep connection to the universe and knew secrets that people no longer knew. I'm interested in Cannon's view on how advanced people's knowledge was when I think about how the Great Pyramid was built. It's 2.5 million stone blocks, each weighing between 5 and 10 tons. The accuracy with which these stones line up with the true north and certain star constellations shows a level of skill that seems almost magical. It's like the people who built these structures in the past knew more about how the universe works and how the Earth's shape works than we do now. A simple clap on the ancient stairs at Machu Picchu produced a sound that modern science was unable to explain, much like the acoustics in the pyramids. These ancient cultures had a deep understanding of energy and vibration, which can be seen in how well they designed sound systems. Geneticists like Lloyd Pye have pointed out that humans' brains suddenly got bigger about 200,000 years ago. This suggests a big step forward in evolution that current theories can't fully explain. Through her regressions, Cannon found stories about a time when people went through big changes on a spiritual and physical level. This makes us think about the past in a different way. A civilization that knew a lot more about spirituality and built structures to match star constellations are all signs of a much more advanced time period than we think. My fascination with Nikola Tesla's innovative ideas and how they relate to what we know about history keeps growing as I learn more about it. I think they will do the same for you. Tesla's ideas are still kept secret in many ways, just like the stories of lost civilizations that I want to learn more about and share with you. The people who built these old sites knew what it was like to be conscious. They showed us the way to enlightenment and the ability to comprehend the world around us. This kind of knowledge is revolutionary because it can change how we think about religion, science, and even our everyday lives. Imagine, for a moment, meeting someone who is lost in the everyday things of life and doesn't know they are divine. Imagine what would happen if they realized they were a divine being from another world who could do amazing things if they could just break free from the chains that hold them down. It's not just about changing history. It's about changing how we think about everything. Someone like Dolores Cannon and other spiritual masters are preparing the way for a huge shift in consciousness that will affect everyone. And society is ahead of academic and popular ideas in a lot of ways. It's getting harder and harder to believe the old stories about ancient civilizations like Egypt and Peru. As Graham Hancock says, the foundation of sand on which our understanding of history is built is about to fall apart. People are now ready for a new understanding. In my research, I've looked into the excavations at Shurupak and the story of the last Sumerian king, which is similar to the story of Noah in the Bible. The Sumerian gods told of a terrible disaster that would happen. but the story was written down on old tablets and has been passed down through generations. This story, and others like it, help us learn more about civilizations that lived before religion. We will see temples carved into andesite and other hard stones along the way. These are signs that tell a story that is older and deeper than any normal story. We will find the first cross and its lost meaning, which will show us how wise our ancestors were. I keep learning more about the complicated tapestry of our ancient past, and I often think about the deep insights Dolores Cannon had and how she worked to find the hidden depths of our history. Because she has a unique way of looking at these new archaeological finds and what they mean for how we understand human history. The cross, which has traditionally been linked to Jesus' death on the cross and seen as a sign of sacrifice, is being looked at again with fresh eyes. Dolores often found echoes of ancient wisdom in her work that went against popular historical and religious stories. As some of Dolores's regression subjects hinted, the Council of Nicaea was a turning point where many spiritual texts and teachings were put together to make a single, maybe too simple, religious story. The real meaning of the cross, which these archaeological finds show, goes against this well-known story. It makes me think of a meaning that has nothing to do with sacrifice. These new findings fit with what she often says about the meaning of the Tree of Life. It says that people used to be very aware of the balance and harmony in the universe, which is something we are just now starting to understand again. We are not only changing the course of history by learning more about these old symbols and what they really mean, but we are also reclaiming a lost part of ourselves. As I try to find the hidden truths of our distant past, I find it especially interesting that ancient wisdom is becoming more popular and accepted. People are opening up to ideas that were once seen as too advanced or heretical. This is similar to how Jesus and Buddha taught, who were both ahead of their time. People are now going back to teachings that were once ignored or misunderstood and accepting them. Meditation, holistic health, caring for the environment, and seeing how pointless war is are now part of our everyday thinking. This change in the way people think and feel is not a new thing. It has happened many times throughout history. The Vedic texts, which are very old, over 5,000 years, contain wisdom that is only now being understood for how deep and useful it is. Though these lessons have always been there, people were not always ready to understand or accept them, as Dolores Cannon often found in her regression sessions. It was common for only a small group of followers to understand what ascended masters taught. Over time, these teachings changed, but as time goes on, these deep teachings are slowly being found again and incorporated into our shared consciousness. We have reached a point where we are more willing to understand the real meaning of our lives. We seem to be playing a game in which the universe guides us through cycles of growth and decline. The motion of the stars and the laws of cosmology both have an impact on these cycles. One example is the Great Cycle, which lasts for about 25,700 years. The precession of the equinoxes marks this cycle. Each zodiac age lasts about 2,100 years and brings its own energy and challenges. Now that Pisces is changing into Aquarius, it means that a better time is coming. This change isn't happening by chance. It's part of the universe's structure and follows a pattern that people from ancient times, like the Sumerians and Mayans, knew very well. The Vedas and other Hindu texts explain the idea of the yugas as a cycle of human evolution that begins with a time of great enlightenment and ends with a time of darkness, only to begin again. This cycle resembles humanity's journey, from being highly developed to experiencing setbacks as a result of disasters, then going through periods of forgetting and remembering once more. We are currently going through our own dark night of the soul, where we have to face and deal with pain and shadows that have been buried for a long time. Carl Jung was right when he said that consciousness comes with pain. We all have to face our pain in order to rise and move forward. The teachings of people like Jesus Christ were once revolutionary and life-changing, but over time they have become more complicated and lost their original meaning. This distortion was made clear to me when I recently visited the Vatican. The grandeur and power that were on display there seemed very different from the simplicity and depth of Jesus' original teachings. A common theme in history is how spiritual teachings have been turned into systems of power and control. Still, we can find a bit of hope in places like Ionis and the old civilization of Ararat. There is a chance that these sites will help people find lost teachings from many cultures and texts, such as the Vedas, the Hermetic, and the Mayan. Throughout history, these teachings have tried to send a single message, one of unity and understanding. Even though people from different cultures express themselves in different ways, the main ideas are the same everywhere, which suggests that spiritual wisdom comes from the same place. The 30th parallel is a powerful example of this common sense. The fact that important ancient sites like the Great Pyramids of Giza and Eridu are lined up in this way suggests that people have a deeper understanding of the Earth's energies and its connections to other worlds. The precise design of the Great Pyramid, which shows how the Earth fits in with other celestial bodies, shows a deep understanding of the as above. So below ideas that canon's work often talked about. We are not only looking into the vastness of the universe, we are also looking into our own inner universe, which is like a mirror image of the universe as a whole. Ancient people knew that everything was connected, so they built their monuments to reflect and line up with the universe. By solving these old mysteries, we are reminded of how important it is to look inside ourselves to figure out our place in the universe. The journey isn't just about exploring the outside world. It's also about exploring the inside world. When we realize that we are both the big picture and the small picture, we can start to understand how wise our ancestors really were. That which has been forgotten for a long time is the key to understanding not only our past, but also our future and our true place in the universe. If you're still with me, I extend my gratitude for your presence, and if you wish, consider subscribing to our channel. And remember, I have a profound love for you, and hope that your life is filled with prosperity and happiness to the fullest extent possible. Thank you.